Howdy everyone, this is Trisha and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to create this wire hanger wreath for Christmas. I'm going to be reusing a wire hanger and some other items, so I'll be letting you know what the supplies are as we create our wreath. So let's get to crafting. I'm going to start by using this wire hanger, so I'm going to recycle this and I'm going to try and make it into a circle shape as best as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, so we're going to have to open this up and bend these little edges, little corners on the sides inward. And then these outward. And then has another one here that we can bend inward. And then outward. So we can then pull on it. And try to make a circle as best as you can. The next thing I want to do is I want to take this part here and fold it into the shape of our circle. So we're going to fold it in like so. You're going to have to do a lot of prying, but be careful here. Okay, so now I just try to get it all to be flat. And probably we'll have to reshape your circle a bit. But this is what we have so far. Alright, so now I want to take this part here and fold it upward, like so, and then take this part here and bend it inward. If you need to use some pliers for this, you go ahead and do that. And I'm just forming like a little loop right here so that I can hang my wreath from that. So that is what I have. And just reshape it and flatten it as much as you can. You don't have to worry too much if it is not flat or if it's not too perfectly circled. But this is what we have so far. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is we want to build up the body of our wreath. As you see, we just have this really thin hanger wire. So we want to give it some bulk. I'm going to be using some plastic bags that I'm going to recycle for my project. You can use any plastic that you may already have that maybe came in some packaging, maybe some bubble wrap, or you can use like newspapers and such to create bulk. Alright, so what I want to do is I just want to crumple up the bag like so. And I want to start putting it on my wreath. And then I can just grab a second one. Start doing the same. Try to get it all the way around the wire. This is going to be my back, by the way, the part where this little hanger part is facing. So this is actually going to be the front of my wreath, but I'm working underneath it. So we'll just keep putting on bags onto it until we have created the bulk that we want. And here I have some painter's tape. You can use any masking tape or scotch tape, whatever you happen to have. And just take some bits so that as you're wrapping this around, you can tape the bag like so. And don't make it too tight because we don't want to get rid of too much of that bulk. But we can add more bags, you know, on top of what we already have. So we're just going to keep doing that. Okay, so here I'm adding 7 bags so far. And as I'm adding the next one, I overlap it on top of the previous one just a little bit, so that when I tape it, that kind of keeps this one held in place. And I've been doing that as I went along. Here we go. So this is what I've got so far as bulk on my wreath. But you can add more if you feel like you want it to be a little bit thicker. Okay, so I decided that I wanted to add a little bit more bags, so I've added another one here. And I'm just going to put one here. Just over some areas where I feel like it's not evenly, you know, bulky enough. So we're just going to put some tape there. Okay, so now I've added 2 more bags. So far I've got 9, but I think I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 more. So at the end I'll have 12 bags that I've used. So that all depends on what you have and what you want to use. Alright, so here I've got it wrapped, and I feel really, happy with the bulk that my wreath has already. I'm not going to worry too much about the top, because when I do my wreath and I decorate it, I plan on putting decoration coming off the top here, so that'll cover a lot of the maybe too thin areas here. But the bottom here will be wrapped with some ribbon and some garland. Here I've got some newspaper bits, or newspaper print, which is an ad here, and I'm going to go ahead and recycle some of that just to show you that you can use paper as well, or rather I would want to use it on top of the plastic, maybe, to just make sure that any little areas where maybe it seems a little too like bulky, and then some skinny parts, well, you can use this paper if you want to shape it a little bit better, or you could just take your tape and wrap around and make sure all the little areas are equally in thickness. So this is what we can do, is add more items on top to recycle and build up our wreath. So I'm just cutting bits like so, and they don't have to be straight. Alright, so I'm going to continue. Go ahead and use my paper on here. Like I said, this is completely optional. You don't have to do this part. And here we go. I have wrapped it with a paper as well. So, like I said, that is completely up to you if you want to use any additional materials to bulk up your wreath. I went ahead and I used both just so you can see what it looks like. But I'm actually really happy that I did, because I like how it gives it a little more even with all the way around. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and decorate our wreath. Alright, so now I've got some ribbon here, and I've also got some garland. This garland, I happened to grab it from the Dollar Tree. This is 15 feet, so it was only $1. So any inexpensive garland, or if you want to use an expensive one, you can go ahead and use that. If you don't want to use garland, you can use a ribbon of your choice. I happen to have this velvet ribbon left over from, I don't know when I even bought this. It was a large roll, and I've still got some on there. So I think that I can go ahead and use some of that to wrap around, because we want to cover either the plastic bag or the paper, whatever it is that you use on here, bubble wrap, whatever. We want to cover that up with a ribbon or garland or both. So I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up mine. And I do know that I want to at least make sure that from here, these 2 areas here, this is the top where the hook is, I want to wrap up all this bottom part, because like I said, I'm going to decorate here with some greenery. So if I don't get my ribbon to reach all the way up here, I'm going to be fine. So I want to start somewhere here and start wrapping, and I've got my hot glue gun ready. So all I'm going to do is just dab some glue. Actually, I'm going to put some glue underneath the paper here to stick that down. Okay, and then put some glue there to get your ribbon started. And we want to go around. Now keep in mind, this is a velvety type ribbon, or if your ribbon is kind of thin and it doesn't have like a really good quality fabric, when you are gluing this down, make sure you glue it from behind. This is the back of my wreath where my little hook is right here. You can see that. So I still got the back of the wreath facing upward. So I'm going to add glue as I go around to make sure that my ribbon does not move on me, and also, I'm not pulling it too tight that I lose the shape, but anywhere where it's maybe a little too bulky, I can pull on it, and to make sure that it doesn't lose that spot, I'm going to put a little bit of glue, because I want to overlap it a little bit onto the other ribbon, and I want to glue it onto the paper. But I don't know if you can tell, but through mine, I can see the glue through this ribbon. It wasn't an expensive ribbon, so that's why you can kind of see through it. So just keep in mind the quality of your ribbon. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around, wrapping it and gluing in certain spots, and then I'll be back when I've reached my desired spot that I want to go ahead and make sure it's wrapped. If I have enough ribbon, I'll go ahead and just cover the whole thing. Why not, right? So let's do that. Okay, so I've been having enough ribbon, so I'm just coming around this top part here, and I had to kind of go around the hook here, so you might see a little bit of the paper right there, but like I said, this part up here is not going to matter. This is the back, and the top part's not going to matter, like I said, even in the front, because I'm going to cover it with some greenery. I just wanted to make sure that the bottom part that I'm not going to cover is not showing any of the plastic or paper underneath. So I'll turn it over. This is the front. I'm almost done. Now anywhere you get like a little pinch like this, just pull the ribbon and then go to the back and then just glue it there. And then this one down as well. Okay. Almost done here. I pretty much used the whole roll. I'm going to guesstimate that this is about 3 yards of ribbon. So if you have a little roll of 3 yards, you might get this coverage. It might be a little bit extra, but a 3-yard roll of ribbon will at least get you the bottom part covered in a typical hanger. Okay, so I'm coming to the end, so I'm just going to cut a little bit longer than I think I need. I'll save this ribbon. I'm just checking it. Okay, that's good. So I'm just going to put some glue to make sure this ribbon doesn't move around. I'm putting plenty of glue there for the end. And then I can just trim off this little piece there. Okay, and there we go. I like it. And that's what it would look like if you only used ribbon. But I want to use some garland as well. Now the garland, we can wrap it up all nice and tight as well. And if any of our ribbon shows through it, we're not going to mind it. So we can start wrapping this up and bringing it close to itself and making a really nice pine looking wreath, or we could separate it a little bit and do like a candy cane effect, if you will, and do something like that on our wreath. Now if you don't want to use that much garland, maybe you want to start down here, and because you know you're going to cover this part with a bow and some greenery, then start down here and maybe make it tied over here, and maybe you want half ribbon, half garland. That is completely up to you how you want to do it. If you just want to use the ribbon and not the garland, that is completely up to you. I decided that I do want to put the garland on it, so I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping it around, but I'm going to bring it to the back here because I want to make sure that this end does not come undone. So what I'm going to do is, because it's wire, I'm going to wrap it around my little hanger part here. Just wrap it on there. And actually, let me start wrapping with it going this way. And I'm going to bring it fairly close. I don't mind some of that red ribbon showing through. And again, as you're wrapping this up, you can also hot glue it as you're going around. And this is a wire, so I can bend it, so I probably don't need to. And the other thing is also, let's say I don't have enough garland to go all the way around and I've started doing it really tight. If I don't glue it, I can always unwrap it or just loosen it up a little bit and spread it out. So don't glue it. Just wire down here where you're starting, or glue it down where you're starting, but then the rest of it, just wrap it around. Once you know that you've got it wrapped the way you want, then you could just reach under there on the back side. I have the back side facing up, and just, you know, put some glue in there and some little spots here and there along the garland that's wrapped around the wreath. So I'm going to go ahead and finish wrapping it to my satisfaction, and then I'll show you what I did. All right, so I have been wrapping the garland around. At first I started wrapping it nice and tight, but I realized it was only going to do about halfway of my wreath. So again, this was a 15-foot or 3 yards of garland, and it only covered half of it if I wanted to do it a nice, you know, tight or closer roll around my wreath. Now my wreath, I went ahead and I measured it so I can give you a diameter of it from one end to the other, and it is about 14 inches wide. So that gives you an idea of what size this wreath is. So in hindsight, if I wanted it to be really nice and close, I would have to get 2 garlands. Again, this is only $1 from the Dollar Tree, so it's up to you if you want to go ahead and spend the extra bit to get it to go all the way around. I'm not going to. It's too late for me, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it right here. I'm going to do a little bit longer than I think I need because I feel like it's a little too separated over here. Okay, so there we bring it, and then I can wrap it one more time, and then I can actually grab it to the already existing piece right here. There we go. That's my kitty cat. And this is what I have. That's the front. Here's the back where my hanger loop is, where I can hang my wreath from. So there we go. Take a look and decide if this is something you want yours to look like. Alright, so I want to go ahead and now decorate even further my wreath. And here I have my base as I showed you. I have some greenery here. Now I could also use some little flowers, some poinsettias if I want to, but I'm just going to use some greenery. And this greenery, I believe I bought it at the store at home, but you can get your greenery, Christmas greenery, from anywhere you want. Now I also have this little berry garland, and I got this from the Dollar Tree. This is 9 feet, so I would like to go ahead and use that as well on my wreath. But I'm going to put my greenery on first so then I know where this will go, because as we learned, this is 15 feet and I just had maybe 2 feet left over, so we need about 13 feet to create this, and this is only 9 feet, so I already know that this is not going to be able to wrap around, you know, entirely, you know, over the garland that I already have, or maybe in between. So I'm going to wait on putting this, or I can choose not to do that. So this is your decision also, where what decorations you want to put on your wreath form that you have created. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start cutting all of these bits from the bush, so I have individual stems. Okay, so we do want to keep in mind where the hanger of our wreath is. So here it is, a little loop. So this is the top of the wreath right here. This is the middle. Now to remind myself, I'm just going to put a little piece of tape there just to mark my center so that I always remember to keep that at the very top. Now I have it facing you, so you are looking at it on your screen as this is being the top. Of course, I'm doing it upside down. So I'm going to take these bits here, and this part here, this greenery down here, this is not slide up. It's not the type of greenery that slides up. It's on a separate little knob there, so I'm going to cut right above it. So now I have 2 pieces here, 2 little stems. So you can do that with all the remainder of your pieces if you come across something like that. Okay, and now I want to put my first greenery on there, and I think I like it right about right here. Remember, right here I want to put a bow, so I don't want to put anything here and then have that bow cover whatever I put there. So I'm going to open it up a little bit, and what I will do is I will reserve some of these little bits for the end, so that after I put my bow in, if I feel like I need to add some little greens in there, I will tuck them underneath the bow. Okay, so let's get to crafting and decorating our wreath. I have another piece just like it, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that. I'm going to curve it a little bit. I'm actually tucking it underneath the garland here. I am going to hot glue these down, so for right now I'm just deciding where the placement of my picks that I've created, my little stems, are going to go. Alright, so I've separated all the smaller just leaves over here, and then these. And I'm going to, when I put these on here, I'm going to position them a little bit far apart, but I'm also going to open them, like fan them out this way, so that they're not all just like this. Okay, so this is how I'm going to put them at first. Now the same piece, I'm going to use it on the other side, and then I've got this and these two, so we're going to separate them like that. And I'm going to put them fairly close together. I don't want them down here. I'm just deciding right now where I want them. See that? Okay, so I've decided that I do like that placement, but I'm going to go ahead and tighten things a little bit. So I'm going to push this in a little bit further in. And now I can go ahead and put some glue underneath where the stem is actually being attached to the ribbon, and also a little bit onto the garland. So push them in a little bit more. Okay, now here's where I can take these other little bits, these little leafy bits, and just fill in between the other little picks that you place in there. So if you place some little flowers, then you can now start putting anything with a little leaf or anything with a little pine cone. So I would put my flowers on here first, little stems, and then I would add in anything that has little berries or pine cones and such, and any leftover little leaves, then you can just tuck in wherever you feel you have too big of a gap. So I'm just adding some glue to the little stem, reaching underneath and tucking it somewhere, making sure that stem that has glue is being covered up by the other item that I'm putting it underneath. And I'm also taking these, and I'm actually cutting these a little bit shorter than what they are. So that's less stem that I will be showing, you know, through the when you look at through the decor that you have so far. And some of these I'm also sticking them underneath, like wherever there's a ribbon, like so. I can slide them underneath there to hide some of the stem as well. And just remember to save a couple of them so that when you have your bow, you know if you need to hide, you know, a little bit more right here. So I'm not going to put any right here. I'm going to save a couple of them for that, and then I'll use another two somewhere else here. Now remember, I have this other little garland here. Let me find the end. There we go. I think that's the end, or this is the end right here. Okay, so I can go ahead and do this. Now I have to decide if I actually do want to use it. It's really pretty. I kind of like the idea of maybe just tucking it here and there rather than wrapping it around. It does look really pretty wrapped around. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to turn it over so that I have the back. And then I can start somewhere where I know it's going to start a little bit before, you know, all this here ends, all these extra items end. So I can just bring it around like that. And what I did is I looped it around this garland here. If you don't have the garland, just glue it down. I'm going to do both. And I'm not going to wrap it around tightly. I'm kind of going to do it kind of loosely. Oops. So because it is wire, again, I can shape this. And I'm not going to have it like too close together. Okay, so just wrap it around. Rather, I'm going to be doing that, but you can decide to do what you want, obviously. I want it kind of loose, but not too loose, okay? So that's what I'm trying to achieve. So I'm almost over here, and I need about this much to go around the back. And I'm going to make sure that it's underneath these guys here. Turn it around, take the end, wrap it around the garland here because I happen to have the garland there. If not, just glue it. I'm doing both. I think that looks really pretty. It gives it another little bit of texture and dimension right there to the wreath. And then I have the little bit that I have here left over. Now I could use this or I could save it for another project, but I was kind of liking the idea of having some little loops like that. So I might go ahead and add this, but I'm going to wait till after I put the bow on. So just like these little leaves that I have here on the side, I'm going to save after the bow and this after the bow. So now it's time to make a bow. Alright, so I've got these 3 ribbons that I want to use to create my bow. I don't have to use all 3. I can use just 1 or 2 ribbons, whatever combinations you want to use that you feel goes well with your floral or greenery, whatever you decide to put on your wreath. I also have a piece of floral wire here. I want a nice long piece, at least 12 inches. I think I cut maybe 18. Or you can use a chenille stem, you know, pipe cleaner, to tie up your bow. I just happen to have my wire right next to me, so that's what I'm going to use. And I've already cut the piece and it's ready to go. I'll put it off to the side. I'm going to slide this over like that where I can just be looking at the top of my wreath here. I want to use this ribbon first underneath. So I'm going to take this, and first I'm going to decide how long some little ribbon tails do I want to come out of here. And I want it about so long. So I'm going to pinch it right there, and I always twist. And this is the pretty side, which is on the outside of my roll. So I'm going to make my first loop. And my first loop, I'm going to take it, here's my center where I put my tape, put it right there and decide like how far out do I want it to go. Now it goes out kind of above my pine cone, but then when I'm going to poof it, it's actually going to be a little bit shorter. So that's how you go ahead and measure your loop. I'm going to go just a tiny bit less than what I have. There we go, about so much, because I will put other ribbon on top of this, and that might squish it down this way. So this is what I'm going to do. Twist, make another loop, bring it up. That's about right. Pinch it, twist it. So I always have this pretty side up. And make as many loops as I want. Now I think I'm going to just do 4 with this one. So 2 on each side. And now that I've got that, I can use that to decide how long these other loops can be, or measure up against it. And then I just want a tail about the same length, so that's where I will cut it. And that's going to go here. So we're going to make a layered bow. We're going to pretend that, well, we still got... You could tie this on its own with a little piece of wire, put it aside and make another bow, or just place it on top and a pinch right here. I'm making the same size tails, twist, and then loop. And actually I'm going to go just a little bit smaller on this loop here than I had before on the other one, because I want this one to come out from behind it. So I'm just going to do a little bit smaller, twist, make another loop, and I can decide whether I want to make just 2 loops or if I want to make 4. And I think I just want 2, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it right there. And then I'm going to use the smaller one, the same thing, place it on top, and I'll do 4 loops with this one, and they'll be smaller loops. My wire out of the way. And then I can just cut it. Okay, now that I've got all my pieces here together, I can go ahead and use my chenille stem or my floral wire and tie it up, and always twist the bow so it tightens into the bow, the wire. The little loop tightens into the fabric rather than all this just getting twisted if you're just twisting this. So twist the bow. Okay. Alright everyone, please excuse the little noise that I had here. I have a fan that I have here because I get kind of warm when I'm crafting. You know, I've got all my lights here for the video, and then I've got my hot glue gun, so it gets pretty warm in here. This is kind of a really cool room because we hardly come in here except when I'm doing my crafts. But when I am in here with lights, it does get warm. So forgive me, that little fan is making a lot of noise, and it's getting older, so it makes even more noise than it did when I first got it. And here you see me, I'm just opening up these little loops. So a lot of times when you hear a little background noise in my video, that's what it is. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut the tails of my ribbon, and I'm going to do little dovetail cuts And that's what I want right here. You can see it against the white here. Okay, just fold them in half. You can either start at the fold and work your way up, or at the ends and work your way inward. And what you're doing is you're basically cutting a little triangle out of there, and that's what you're creating. Okay. Okay, so once I have my bow put together, really right after I've tied it, I usually put it on my project before I actually poof up and move my, my loops around. I'm doing this for your purpose so that you can see what the bow actually looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and poof it. And the reason that I don't poof it before is because a lot of times it just gets crushed as I'm putting it on my wreath. So then I have to just poof it again. So just save yourself a little bit of time and tie it down first and then poof it and do what you need to do. But this is what the bow looks like, all nice and poofed. And of course you can poof it up even more if you want. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take these wires, because I cut my wire really nice and long, these ends, and I'm going to tie it around my wreath right at the center where I put that piece of tape. So I want to turn it around and see, this is where I mean it's going to get squished. So that's why I don't poof up my bow. Okay, so I mean I don't do it before I put it on. Okay, so now I'm just going to take the ends of this, and actually this, if you didn't have this little loop of the your hanger, let's say you're bending it to shape it and for some reason this just breaks right off, because that can happen, then you can use the wire from your bow to create a little loop to hang it with. Okay, so I'm just going to roll that into itself, push it flat up against the back here so it doesn't scratch my walls. But I do have my little loop here, and then I can come forward and start actually poofing my bow so that I know where I want the tails going. I kind of like the tails coming out from between the loops, so I'm going to do that. And this one down here is fine. There we go. That looks really pretty, at least I think it does. I'm going to crinkle up this thinner ribbon a little bit there. So that's what that bow looks like, and as you can see, that looks really nice. At least I think it does, and I hope that you agree as well. So like I said, we have these 4 little bits, or whatever amount that you have that you've saved to the side. Now we can go ahead and start looking at our, what we've put into our wreath here, and see where maybe I need some leaves. So start gluing them in there. So actually we can actually cut these a little bit shorter. I said actually. All right, so we can start cutting these a little bit shorter and just gluing them in little spots just to fill in any little bare areas that we think, or even just to push other leaves upward a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and fill up. I have 4, so I'll use 2 on each side. Okay, and then I'm going to take this, and like I said, I might do some little loops like that here. So I'll just cut it, and then I'll just take the ends and either loop them onto something or glue them in. Okay, just tie them onto something. Okay, so I'm bringing the loop and I've tied it around the stem here. I didn't even have to glue these on, and just tuck them under that little leaf there if I want, and just loop it around. And I've done the same thing on the other side over here. So there we go. I've actually crinkled up my bow, and I've actually moved it around because I realized these tails, I had put them across here, but it was covering my pine, so that wasn't good. So I decided to put the tails all going downward, and there we go. We can add more items to our wreath if we want, or we can leave it just like that, nice and simple, and it looks really pretty. All right, everyone, I have completed my wire hanger Christmas wreath. I think it looks really great, and as you saw, I used some items that I either recycled, reused, or repurposed, whatever word you want to use. Forgive me that I don't know what the correct wording for that is, but we're learning together. So I used some of the items like a wire hanger, and I used some plastic bags, and I used an ad that I just happened to get in the mail. It's just a newsprint paper. You can use tissue paper. If you don't have the plastic bags, maybe you're not using those, you're not grabbing those from your grocery store, maybe you live in an area where they're completely limited. You can use tissue paper or just a newsprint paper, crumble it up to create the bulk of the wreath around the hanger, and then wrap it around with some more paper just to make sure everything is kind of smooth. That way, if you do decide to wrap some ribbon around it, it'll look really nice. Now, if you decide to just use garland to wrap around it, then you probably don't need to put any ribbon. Just make it nice and tight and hide all the paper. All right, so as you saw, I used about, I'm going to say about a little bit more than 4 yards of the ribbon underneath here. Forgive me that I did not measure that, but I do know that I had 3 yards of the garland here, and that was not enough to go all the way around nice and close together. But we do want to keep in mind that this is very thin compared to the width of the ribbon, which is about 2.5 inches wide, and this is maybe close to 1 inch wide, you know, of coverage. So we probably need less if you have something wider. But still, I'm going to say about 4.5 yards, 5 yards of ribbon if you want to wrap the entire hanger, you know, your form that you've created, because it is about 14 inches in diameter. So just keep that in mind. If it's anything bigger, if you decide to put 2 wire hangers together and make a bigger one, then of course you're going to need more yards of ribbon and more yards of garland or feet, whatever you're using to measure. All right, so, and then also I used just a little bit of a greenery bush, and I didn't put any flowers. As you saw, you can add some flowers and add even more luxury or volume to your wreath if you want, and maybe put it all the way around here and there if you want. And for my bow up here, I used about 2 yards maybe for the back bow, which had the 4 loops. I usually use 3 yards of ribbon to create a bow that might have 6, maybe sometimes even 8 loops, depending on what size I make of loops. But it's about 2 yards here, and I've got about 1 yard here for each of the other ribbons, so altogether about 4 yards of ribbon. So that just depends on what you want to put on there. And then of course I had this little piece of little berry garland that was about 3 yards, and as you saw, it only went about halfway here, and then I did 2 little loops here, which I think looks really great. My garland, I started off with a 15-foot, like I said, and that's about, what did I say, that's 5 yards, and as we saw, that did not completely cover. So you need about 2 of those rolls if you want to completely cover it. But I like the way that it looks. I like the little candy cane effect, even though you can call it whatever you want, but that's what I'm calling it, and I think it looks great. So there we go, everyone. You can embellish this with a little ornament hanging off of here if you want to put little ornament balls in there. Whatever you want, a little bird, a little nest, whatever you want to put in there, you can add on. And of course, in the colors that you want to do for your holiday decorating. So there we go. I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up. Please leave a nice comment down below and let me know what you think of my project. Are you going to create something similar? Have you already done that? If you have and you want to share the idea with myself and some other folks, and I'm going to urge everyone to please go to my Facebook, Trisha's Creations, and there you can share your ideas if you want to post a picture of what you've done. If it's just not a craft and it's a recipe you want to share with everyone, go ahead and put it on there. You can also comment on there. You could also private message if you have a question. But just go ahead and do that, and I would appreciate that we can form a little community there as well, aside from the one that we have here on YouTube. All right, everyone. Again, thank you very much, and thank you to everyone who has been subscribing. I really do appreciate it. Please view the videos from the beginning towards the end. It's really helpful towards me, and also please watch the ads. It's very important that you do that. That is how I get paid. That is how I'm able to afford and buy more supplies so that I can continue doing more videos and share ideas with you. So hit that red subscription button, and then you'll see the little bell notification that'll let you know when I put up my videos, so you'll be the first ones to watch it, and you'll be ready, and you know that I did upload, and I try to upload twice a week. So there we go, everyone. Please keep safe, spread the love, be respectful towards each other, share on your social medias, and as always, enjoy.